Hey, it's Between the Pipes. We are live post-game after Game 4. The Avs take a 3-1 series lead on the Minnesota Wild. You may notice that is not Alex Ryanemi next to me on this screen. No, that is Andy Lindahl of Kreckman and Lindahl, one of the hosts of the show I produce. You all know who Andy Lindahl is, of course. Andy's hopping on because you may have also listened to Raj on Between the Pipes and our pregame show on Sunday. I didn't catch the morning sprint today. I'm going to assume his voice continued to sound like ass.
Yeah, you could tell he had a cold.
Okay, so Alex Ryanemi is getting his voice good to go for the morning sprint tomorrow. He'll be on 10 to noon with Coach Mike Sanford. But Andy, awesome enough to jump on with me, fresh out of the watch party at the Old Town Tavern in Arvada. And Andy's got his Nathan MacKinnon jersey behind him. Nate broke his nose tonight, or he had to break that's a broken nose, right?
Yeah, dude, he was still bleeding. Matter of fact, so I watched the first, call it 7-8 minutes of the third period at Old Town Tavern, and I'm like, all right, this is too intense. I got to get home. I got to watch this game closer. So I'm driving home, listening to Connor's 2 goal calls that put you, got the tying goal, or I guess the go-ahead goal, then tying goal, then the go-ahead goal. Fantastic stuff. And I get home, and right as I walk in, Leah Hextall's talking about how he's still bleeding from the nose after he scored that empty netter that made us all take a big breath when it was 4-2. So, yeah, man, that's got to be a broken nose. She did confirm start of the period. I think you saw that it is, in fact, a broken nose, nothing with the teeth. And what is with our star defenseman blowing up our forwards, man? McCarr's got it after Landeskog, and now Taves makes MacKinnon eat a puck, although Taves had to do it. That puck was laying so dangerously right there in the blue paint.
Sure.
He had to fire it somewhere. Unfortunately, It was at MacKinnon's face.
I think the Avs were, maybe Nate was looking around like, hey, why wasn't that icing? I think that the Avs wanted icing on a dump in there, but play continued. Next thing you know, Taves, and you're right, just trying to get a puck out of a dangerous area in the slot. Whoopsies, Nathan MacKinnon's right there, puck to the face. Warrior mentality from Nathan MacKinnon. You saw Cale do it earlier in this series, but man, actually, Andy, let me bring this comment up because this kind of ties in with one of the themes of tonight. Here we go. Let me scroll down. Let me bring it up for you here, Andy. Kevin in the chat says Raj upper body injury day today. Yes. If this was the NHL, Raj, even though it's his voice, it's his vocal cords, that's an upper body injury. But Andy, speaking of upper body injuries, no Arturi Lehkonen, no Sam Malinsky. They were out with upper body injuries tonight. No Lehkonen, no Malinsky. I was like, when I saw that news come down half hour or so before the game, that's not good news, man.
No.
Especially coming off of the lifeless performance in Game 3. But you didn't need Lehkonen, you didn't need Malinsky. Offensively, I mean, how about the line? The line all year, we knew it would all come down to the Brock Nelson, Ross Colton, Nick Waugh line.
That's been together one game.
Been together one game. Hey, man, Nick Waugh was a pretty good acquisition, huh?
Yeah, dude. Listen, I liked Waugh at the deadline. I think I told you today, it's not often Nate and I get some things right. I don't know if we even got it right. I said I'd move Waugh up to the second line just because I thought he was a good net front presence because we talked about the struggles of Nick Chushkin. Nate, even bigger, said we got to get Parker Kelly going, and he's going to end up with the game-winning goal now at this point. Look, man, Nick Waugh is a playoff performer. My buddy in Vegas, one of our good listeners, Eric Rabbers, who loves to always weigh in, the moment we got Nick Waugh this offseason, he goes, you guys are going to love this guy. It's exactly what you need. Grindy forward, plays the grit game, plays the playoff style game. That's what he did. Of course, Ross Colton. I'm glad to see Ross Colton get on the score sheet as well. And it's funny, Mark, that they would get kind of that grindy goal to get the first lead of the stay in Minnesota, I guess it was, as Connor said. because, frankly, they'd had a bunch of juicy rebounds and nobody was really in front to knock them home. And then finally you get those guys there and doing the dirty stuff and getting the gritty stuff done. So, look, man, these are the kind of guys you need come playoff time, because guess what? When you're in Minnesota, they were the ones that got to choose the matchup against McKinnon. Now, I thought McKinnon and Aegis and Landeskog, that had flashbacks to that big line when it was Rantanen with those guys. The Lehkonen one bothers me because I hope Lehkonen did skate today, so maybe we got some illness going around the team too. There's a tummy bug going around. Maybe that just hit him and they're just being polite about it, versus Bud Black, who just tells you when a guy's got a case of the craps. But I just think, I was worried more about Leckie than Malinsky, although I'd hated not seeing Malinsky in there, Spring, because Leckie's a playoff performer, and this would have been the perfect game for Leckie. But it turns out they didn't need him. And you brought it up, the lackluster kind of energy list. It was almost like a regular season January energy to game 3. And you know me, I'll find anything to worry about when it comes to the Avalanche. I'm like, I hope you didn't piss off the hockey gods. Turns out they didn't. I didn't necessarily love the switch to Blackwood, but I thought he had a really solid game tonight, I don't know, man. You credit Jared Bednar. He pulled all the right moves. He kept moving up. He shook up his lines in game from what Connor was describing with Lyles, and they got the dub, man, and all is right in Avs land.
Yeah, I mean, hey, your brand of hockey, Andy. How about the fourth line? Parker Kelly and Jack Drury specifically, but also Yoel Kiviranta, and good to have him available. If Lekkonen's gonna go out, well, you can elevate someone. You can elevate O'Connor to the third line. You can elevate Waugh to the second line, even though they kind of like that second line tonight really was Kadri, Nichushkin, O'Connor. They played a little more. But you have depth. Like Yoel Kiviranta, as long as it's not McKinnon or Natchez or Landeskog, if you lose somebody, you can put a Yoel Kiviranta on your fourth line and elevate somebody who's playing. I mean, Nazem Kadri's on your freaking third line. You can elevate somebody. They were playing, Nichushkin, lineup-wise on their third line tonight. You can elevate somebody because you have that forward depth. But the forechecking of Kelly and Drury setting up that Parker Kelly goal. And we've seen Kelly he was a 20-goal scorer this regular season. And that was a similar goal to a lot of ones he scored in the regular season, where he just gets one teed up to him and he just swings for the fences, and he just puts it in the right spot on a knuckle puck. But that's what Parker Kelly did all regular season long. That's how that fourth line plays, even without Logan O'Connor, who is that type of player. But Kiviranta plays that way too. So that's Andy Lindahl's style of hockey right there that really won you that game in the third period.
Well, yeah, it's how you got to play in the playoffs, right? I mean, they kept trying to pass to the middle tonight, which, look, Minnesota's defense is not as tight as we're used to seeing. Some of the other teams, like the Dallas Stars, don't ever let the Avs have that middle pass. They did get some middle passes. They did get some great shot attempts, but they just weren't going. It's not that I don't love highlight goals. Who doesn't? It's just often you don't get those kind of chances in the playoffs. You and I both know it. And the Avs fall in the past. They've fallen too much trying to get those kind of chances against a team like the Stars that just say we're not going to let you have them, period. And the Avs have been so much better not giving up the chaos in front of their own net that often comes with a Dallas Star. Like Minnesota's trying to create the chaos. There are a couple times tonight where, frankly, there's the big scramble in front of the net, and frankly, that's where you got to really tip the cap to Blackwood, man. Blackwood, he was down. He got the leg pad out. He had got it between his legs and kind of slid over on the ice, right? And got the puck at least out of the main shoot there so that they couldn't get an easy tap in. He handled that one scramble they gave up really well. But, Spring, what's been crazy about this is, and I realize Eriksson Ek and Brodin would make this look a lot different. I'm not going to discount that. But the Avs, so they get the go-ahead goal in the third. And again, I'm listening to this on the radio. I didn't have time I was hoping to come home and rewatch what I missed. And then, I found out Raj was sick, so I'm jumping on with you. But the way they described it, and you can help me out, the way Lyles and Connor were describing it, the Avs smothered the Wild to get the go-ahead goal to make it 2-1. Then they give up that other one, unfortunate play, and they ended up giving up that one that made it 2-2. And then the Avs come right back out and just dominate and smother the Wild basically the rest of the period. It is amazing to me for how the Wild looked down the stretch, especially since getting Quinn Hughes. It is amazing to me how more dominant the Avs are than the Minnesota Wild right now. Like, I honestly thought we were going to play a lot more close hockey like we did the first two periods of this game all series, Mark, than what we've seen basically for two periods of hockey, man. It is when the Avs, and you mentioned the energy the other night in game 3, when the Avs decide they want to beat you, like it felt like they did in the third period tonight, dude, it doesn't feel like Minnesota can hang with them right now.
Yeah, it makes game 3, even though like you said, coming into this series, like Minnesota's a good team. We were all thinking 6 or 7 in this series, and yet they put 9 on them in game 1, win pretty handily in game 2, somehow turned a 180 in game 3 and gave no effort. Makes no sense. But got it back on track. We're the better team once again. Now it's looking like after game 1 when they put 9 on him and you're thinking, no Eriksson Ek, no Brodin, hold your serve in game 2, steal 1 in Minnesota, come home for game 5. You win this thing in 5 now, all of a sudden, instead of the 6 or 7 that we thought for a team that just beat Dallas and, has gone all in, trading for Quinn Hughes and, paying Kaprizov, and, they got the good goaltending tandem. That this was going to be a tough series, but no, the Avs are showing that when they bring their B-plus game, because I don't even think this was their A game tonight, Andy. I don't. This wasn't even their A game. They were much better than game 3. But now granted, back half of this game, McKinnon's playing with a broken nose, and he was getting loose in moments, but Nate didn't really get loose in this game. Nate just didn't get loose in this game. There's still that element to the Avs. They can play much better than they did tonight, but they don't have Eriksson Ek. They don't have Brodin. Fine. The Avs don't have Lehkonen and Malinsky. Now coming off of a win, that's every reason for Minnesota to have been right there in this game, if not have won it tonight. And I was concerned. You said you were concerned about not having Lehkonen. I was more concerned about Malinsky and you didn't have Nick Blankenberg too. So you had to play Jack Ashawn, who played 7 minutes, but Andy, he blocked 3 shots. Jack Ashawn blocked three shots in his 7 minutes, and that was the most blocked shots on the Avs tonight. Jack Ashawn in his 7 minutes blocked more shots than any Avs player tonight. Defensively, you know that this team can have defensive breakdowns, and without Sam Malinsky, and Josh Manson was not 100%. I think that's part of the reason. And let's talk about this, Andy. In the first period, the first Wild goal, when Josh Manson gets hit cleanly, is a clean hit by Michael McCarron of the Wild. But I think, McCarron and all the Wild players are thinking, let's go after Josh Manson because he is not 100%. And that's just gamesmanship. Is it a little cheap? Yeah, just because the dude's hurt, but it's all is fair. Is you lay hits in this sport, and they got a clean one on Manson. But Manson knew it in that moment. He said, fuck you. I'm hurt. And he drags McCarron to the ground, and he does hit him with the knob of the stick. And we all learned tonight that is just even trying to hit someone with the knob of a stick is a double minor. But Andy, if Josh Manson were to have gotten ejected for that, and there was a part of me that thought, he might get ejected. I was thinking that's why you don't play Manson, because he's not 100%, and the Wild are going to attack him and come after him, and they made Manson snap. But despite Manson not being 100%, he did things defensively for you tonight. He really did.
Yeah, he did, and he was important, and we've got a lot of people going on in the chat. Should he have been ejected? Had he connected better, he would have been. It's still a cheap play. You still don't like to see it. I think Manson regretted it as he watched it. I don't think he fully either, I think he wanted to get him off him. He was upset that that he basically got tackled and then hugged to the ground, and then McCarron wouldn't go off of him. So yes, it was a cheap play, and it was a dirty play by Manson. It was a cheap play by McCarron to go right after him, as you said. That's hockey. Guys are going to test it. That's why they say upper and lower body injuries. And with that said, No juice came from Minnesota. They did not answer the bell. You know, so yeah, I'll be curious to see what we get as far as pairings for game 5. If
I
Manson
hope
is
it's a stomach
playing.
bug. I hope it's an illness, like you said, because
Well,
as
it's
much
wild, and I don't mean to. I'm not trying to play on words. What's crazy about it is, I'll go that word. What's crazy about it is, by all reports, Malinsky ran the PP. Like, McCarr
yeah,
didn't skate this morning, and Malinsky ran the power play. And all
yeah.
of a sudden, he's out. And apparently, Lehkonen skated too. So that's why I'm hoping it's a case of tummy troubles that kept you off the ice, and they could both be back. If Manson plays in game 5, I have a feeling we'll see a very early fight between McCarron and Manson.
What did you make of first intermission interview? PK Subban chatting with Michael McCarron, Subban at the ESPN studio, McCarron in the tunnel. And McCarron said that Josh Manson is a dirty player. He said something like, played against him for years. He's always been a dirty player. That's an interesting comment. I mean, first of all, Andy, that's somewhat, I mean, it's different, but it's somewhat similar to Jaden McDaniels saying that, the Nuggets have no good defenders. Like, why would you say that out loud? And number two, this one's, at least Jaden McDaniels was right. Like, the Nuggets are bad defenders, but we've seen Josh Manson here now for 4 years. Now, I didn't watch much of him with the Ducks. I was aware of him and knew he was a good player. I've never seen Manson be dirty. What the hell's that comment from Michael McCarron?
I mean, he's pissed off. He was pissed off about what happened to him. He was pissed off he wasn't tossed. And so, I don't think Manson's necessarily a dirty player, but you better keep your head on a swivel. Look, dude, anybody that hits as often as Josh Manson does, and he's not afraid to drop a hit into you against the board, a hip check into you against the board. I would tell you this, he's no more dirty than Hartman is. That would be my response to McCarron. He's no more dirty than some of the forwards that you got trying to start stuff like the Foligno brothers. So, but all those guys are edge players. You and I know that. Hockey's full of edge players. Let's be honest, Naz Kadri back in his day was an edge player. So it is what it is, Now, was that a dirty play? Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and try to tell you it wasn't probably a dirty play. Now, I'm not fully sold with how it can, like, if Josh really wanted to jab that thing into his neck, I think he would have. That still doesn't mean the wrong intent wasn't there. It was not a good play by Josh Manson. He should not have been doing that. He got frustrated and wanted the guy off him. I think he got pissed off the refs didn't stop the play and get the guy off of him, because at some point where the puck is so far gone, at some point we're talking about interference, right? But again, anybody that throws the body with as much success as Josh does, they're going to call you borderline dirt. Listen, man, one of my favorite Bronco of all time was Steve Atwater. I don't know how they would have described him in these modern times, because he played a physical brand of the game. And Josh is a guy, there's not a lot of guys that still play the game the way Josh does. Listen, Josh is a little like Rob Blake from back in the day, is he not? King of the hip,
sure.
The hip check. He's going to put that big hockey butt into you. He's going to try to put you through the boards, and he's their tone setter. But I think McCarron was fired up, and look, at some point it's going to get handled between the two of them. You and I know it, whether it's the next game Josh plays or next season in the first regular season matchup. But again, I would say Josh is no more dirty than Hartman with his spearing and is constantly trying to throwing cross checks to the back of guys' heads after plays are clearly done when they don't even have their back. They got their back turned to them. So I don't need to hear that noise. And again, McCarron, you look, dude, we all know what you were up to. First run you got at Manson, you wanted to see how healthy it was. And you threw the check and you grabbed him and you bear hugged him and you tried to wrestle him. And that's why you got what you got. You pissed off a guy that's known to play a sandpapery game. And so it happened. Like you said, that's hockey. And whether it's football or hockey, when they know you're dealing with something, they're going to go see how that feels, period.
Yeah, and I think you pretty much said it. He's just trying to push McCarron off him, and you could see Manson, you could read his lips. He just said something like, when they're reviewing the play and they show Manson on the bench, he's just like, I was just trying to hit him with my glove.
Yeah,
You know,
I
I'm trying
think
to
that's
get him.
what he's trying to do too. And
But
he
you know,
got
he
the
doesn't
stick higher
realize,
than you
oh
thought.
shit, my stick is still in my glove. He's not trying to jab and jam and spear that knob through his neck. He's just trying to punch him off. Oh shit, my hand is still on the stick. And yeah, no, look, you are responsible though for your own equipment, for your own body. So I'm just saying that to me, dirty is like intent to do something fucked up, right?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
there was no intent there to do that. But like I said, you are responsible for your own movements. I guess they call it a double minor because they knew he attempted to hit him with the nub,
Yeah.
but they couldn't prove that the nub made contact with the face, even though McCarron does flail back as if
Well,
it
yeah, because he
did.
knew he could get him kicked out, then they'd be down to 5.
Yeah, because it would have been a 5-minute major and a misconduct.
Well, no,
ejection.
I mean, we would have been down to 5 defensemen.
Yes. And it would have been a 5-minute major.
Because he would have been out of the game, and then you would have been in trouble. You'd have been short, and that's exactly what they needed. Look, man, again, I'm not trying to defend. I'm not defending the decision by Josh. You got to be smarter than that in a playoff atmosphere. But, you know, and I think Josh lost his cool a little bit because it's a very unfamiliar position for Josh because he had a bigger man on top of him that he could not seem to work himself free from. You know what I mean? Josh is not used to too many people being bigger than he is, and yet McCarron was. But look, man, they got their 4-minute double minor. And quite honestly, you know, the Avs penalty killing was outstanding tonight. I mean, A+. Matter of fact, and you can help me out, the 2 goals that were scored, they both Minnesota goals. Alex texted us something. I was trying to see if he was trying to weigh in. The 2 goals Minnesota scored, both were odd man situations because in the second goal, right? Who was it? Brock Nelson lost his skate, and Hughes found out. I'm not trying to do that. Brock Nelson lost his skate, so they were up a man too. So other than they did not do anything full strength tonight, and it was incredible. And you got to credit the Avs for the way that they played. Look, man, they're the better team. It is unbelievable. It is unbelievable how good they are when they get the look they got the last 10 minutes of the third period, right, Mark? Frankly, that was good to see. And the last 10 minutes of the third period tonight proved to me how unserious you took game 3.
Of course.
That's really the only disappointing part.
No, I mean, you knew it when we saw it on Saturday night. Like, they just didn't take this seriously. And tonight was proof, you know, that's exactly what it was because the Avs were more undermanned than they were on Saturday nights. You know, they had Lehkonen and Malinsky on Saturday nights. They just wanted it tonight, and it was good to see, and they're pretty much unstoppable when they play like that. Kadri gets the power play goal. You know, he's been the answer now that his finger's healed, Andy. His fingers healed. And that's what the time off between the King series and the Wild series. You can see Kadri shooting the puck more in this series, getting his own rebound and scoring on that right wing, right slot area there. Kadri had 5 shots on goal. He had 8 shots on goal, I think, in game 1. He wasn't shooting the puck at all in the King series. Now the fingers healed. Now he's shooting the puck, and he's the right wing option like that they have been missing. He's not Mikko Rantanen, but he's the best thing they've had since Mikko Rantanen on the right wing. That's helped the power play a lot. And I was thinking, you know, when let's see, Minnesota gets their second goal via Nico Sturm and ties it at 2. And also Nico Sturm had the couple shots similar to the Kadri looks that got through Wallstedt, but Sturm had a couple of those, but Blackwood made the saves. Blackwood made his 2 best saves. He had some nice saves tonight, but Blackwood made his 2 best saves on a couple of Nico Sturm looks in the slot. Nico Sturm scored a little after that, after him and Nelson went down, but Sturm got up and Hughes found him. Great pass by Quinn Hughes. I'm thinking it was Mikko Rantanen last year. Is it going to be fucking Nico Sturm this year? Of all people, the former Av who gets him this year is Nico Sturm.
Connor said after that goal at his call, he goes, Nico Sturm scored none for the Avalanche when he played with them in the cup run. He scored 3 against them in the regular. And I was like, okay.
Nico Sturm was on like a 5-minute heater.
He's on a heater against the Avs, but that's all right. That's all right.
Hey, look, Nico Sturm's a good player. That was his first goal of the playoffs. The Avs bottom 6, it really is so much better than the Wild's bottom 6. They're the better team top to bottom. Hughes and Makar is the only real debate. Other than that, the Avs, Volstedt's a rookie. I love this kid, but he's a rookie. What you think of Blackwood? And what do you think for Wednesday night, Andy? Do you think this was rest for Wedgwood? Because Raj and I were talking after Saturday night, and we thought they'd go back to Wedgwood, and that pulling Blackwood was just like, well, we're down 3-0, and the only thing as a coach that Jared Bednar can really do to send a message is just pull the goalie. Like, it's not like it's on Wedgwood that you're down 3-0. The team had no life in front of them, but let's just send the only message I can. Wedgwood, you're out. Blackwood, you're in. Little surprise, and I know you talked about it today, Andy, that no, they made Blackwood the starter for tonight, but he plays very well. Where are we at? Where do you think we're at with the goaltending right now?
My gut tells me they stay with Blackwood. I think Wedgwood, if Blackwood for some reason struggles in game 5, coming in relief is a familiar role. I think more for Wedgwood than for Blackwood at this point. And yeah, we talked about it today on the Kreckman and Lindahl show, which Mark Springer's on. So all you hockey people, don't be afraid to jump in on that. You'll see Mark's lovely face. Look, dude, I just think this is what Bednar wanted. Wedgwood played way too well during the Kings series to justify a switching goalie, and they won 4-0. You're sweeping. But I just felt like in the minute he did it early in game 2, I looked at my buddy and I said Bednar's been waiting for this opportunity, waiting for it, because he didn't want to go. I think Bednar was worried, and look, people fall into this line of thinking, but you've heard it. People have said you don't want Blackwood going 2 months without a start, then all of a sudden you need him in the Stanley Cup playoffs. It's not fair. There's too much rust. So I do think because of the way they've done things all throughout camp, that all throughout the season, that Bedsy just wanted a chance. The first moment he got, he took it. Blackwood played well tonight. I didn't necessarily love the power play goal. I thought he had a little bit better vision on it, but whatever. It could have been tipped. Look, man, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. They won the game. Won the game, so you made the right choice. You know what I mean? You want to go with them again, game 5? Cool. I do think, but look, deep down, Mark, let's be honest about this. The Avs gave Mackenzie Blackwood a contract that says you are the starter now and for the long term. And I think, are they happy Wedgwood has played so well? Yes, of course they are. You love it when your team has success. But I think, again, I'm under the impression Jared Bednar likes bigger goalies. I just think he does. I think he prefers Blackwood's body type in net. I think it takes away a lot. And again, I fall back on my lacrosse roots. Dude, I've shot against big guys where it feels like you got no part of the net to pick at. And you know what? I'll give Bednar credit for this. Who was it? Was it Boldy that came in? I think Boldy came in clean where Blackwood hugged the pipe and there was a tiny corner to shoot at near the helmet and the very top of the shoulder, but it was a very small corner and Boldy ended up sailing the shot. And I think that's just sometimes what it does to you mentally. And because of that, I think Bednar just prefers the body type, and it worked. Look, Jared Bednar's coaching a masterclass right now, right? Everything he's done is working. He moved up like you talked about with Colton and Waugh, and John Michael Lyles had talked about how Colton and Waugh had played so well down on the third line. They deserve to come up. They come up. They're trying to get Brock Nelson going. Brock Nelson chips in on what ultimately is Colton's goal, but the 2 assists, I should say, went to Waugh and Nelson. So the whole line got a point. At the time, it was the go-ahead goal. I trust whatever Bednar wants to do, I'm not going to complain about. Now, would it have been the same had they lost tonight? No, it would not have, But that's not the way it goes. To the victor goes the spoils. He put his chips in. He called the bluff of the house, and Bednar wins. Because now you're up 3-1 with 3 shots to close this thing out.
Here's a simple comment, but I agree with this. Soul Punch says, I'm good with either guy. I
Yeah,
gotta
at
feel
this point,
I'm
I
good
don't know
with
how you
either
can't
guy.
be.
Put either of them in. I'm not a believer in the rhythm, or hey, this is the way it's always been done, so therefore you have to do it this way. No, eventually it can be done a different way. Like it just like law of averages says you can do it. There's no black and white, there are different ways to get things done. They both had excellent seasons, but I piggybacking on what you said, Andy, I do think Blackwood has been the guy since he arrived. Like you said, he's the guy they gave the contract to. He's the guy with the size. He's the guy with the prototype. He's the guy that, like, if aliens were to attack Earth and they said, yo, who's your guy? You know, you're Blackwood, he's their one. But Wedgwood just outkicked his coverage tremendously this season. I also do think, Andy, that for the first time in these playoffs, we're looking at a situation where, and it might not go the full week, but if it does, you're playing Monday tonight, Wednesday, and Friday. Even in the Kings series, you had that extra day break from game 2 to 3 when they
And there's
switched
none
it
of
to
that.
LA. This is the
Everything's
first
every other
week.
day till we wrap this up.
This is the first week where it's 3 games in 5 days. Now, it's not the regular season where it's 3 games in 4 nights, and you're definitely, you don't want a goalie playing in a back-to-back. But I wonder if that is a reason where Bednar looked at it and said, if this goes 6, I don't care. I'm starting one of these goaltenders for one of these 3 starts, so that one of these dudes isn't starting 3 games in 5 nights. I'm not ruling out seeing Wedgwood on Wednesday night. I mean, Jared, if you listen this show, Andy, all year, I would say I think Wedgwood's starting the next game, and then nope, it would be Blackwood. I couldn't get it right for the life of me. So you would think it would be Blackwood, given that he played well tonight and that he is the prototypical guy. He's the guy they gave the money to, and he is an excellent goaltender. But it wouldn't shock me if they went with Wedgwood, with the idea being, what if this goes 6? And I don't want guys starting that quick, far apart from each other, because that's how we did it all year long.
Yeah, just throwing some of the comments up. I don't know how you guys roll. By the way, the Blackwood Lakewood Avs in 5 was pretty funny. The old Shannon Sharp saying, look, to your point, nothing would surprise me if he went back in his rotation. But listen, I've lauded Scott Wedgwood all year long for how he's played. You know that. You do the show every day with me. Yes, if there was such a campaigning, I don't think any of us were overly worried about it. But I said that I do believe that Wedgwood should start the playoffs, and he did. I would also tell you right now that as much as I love the way Scott Wedgwood has played, it's been more chaotic this round than what it was against the Kings. Now, that being said, and I go back to the third period of game 1 when it was just drunk, Wedgwood made a lot of saves on pucks through traffic, especially with the glove, that I thought should not be overlooked. But again, Blackwood now in this series has only allowed 3 total goals. So if you want to keep him going game 5, matter of fact, I would almost bet to see him game 5. And if something gets stupid, then I guess you put Wedgwood in. But I do think that was a tight game start. Now, I don't know. I guess it's about to talk about how tight the game was, Spring, and yet, boy, they showed at one point in the second period, we had 16 scoring chances to 1.
Yeah.
for Minnesota. They just dominated play. I just think the Avs got to play their game, and I don't care who's in net Wednesday night. Close this dumb thing out, right?
That's the thing, man. Like, it's really, when Wedgwood allowed the 6 goals, I looked at defensive breakdowns in front of him. I feel comfortable with both these goaltenders. I think that Wedgwood played so well that it made mistakes that Mackenzie Blackwood make look 10 times worse than they actually were. Because the pan, like, every game matters, right, man? If you would have gotten Saturday night, we're talking about going to the Western Conference Finals right now instead of a game 5 on Wednesday night, which they probably get that game 5 on Wednesday night. But, we've seen too much funky shit in the playoffs, that you feel like you want your best guy out there. You want to give yourself the best chance to win. You want to go 16-0 if possible, right? And Wedgwood made us feel that way as the season went along. But you also do have to remember that he was like this throughout his entire career. And then he just spiked this year to this insane level. Whereas Blackwood, over the past 3 years, you go look back at his last season with the San Jose Sharks, very good numbers. Blackwood's been steady Eddie, So they're both excellent. Wedgwood just made us feel this season that if you went to Blackwood, oh my gosh, how could you do that? No, Mackenzie Blackwood is a very good goaltender. So, whoever Bednar decides to go with on Wednesday, I'm 100% okay with. I'm not going to try to predict it. You would think it would be Blackwood based off of, yes, the Wild didn't get a ton of chances, but he made some big time saves when he was called upon tonight. He really did. It's all about the team in front of him. I think have we not learned that about the Avs since they've won a cup? You can sense with them when they want it and when they don't, when they bring their A game in front of their goaltender and when they don't. Saturday night, they didn't. The other 7 games of these playoffs, they have.
They have, and they're on a mission now. Can't deny Carolina's on a mission too. Although the Carolina thing kind of annoys me because I'm like,
they got Philly. I told Raj, I think the Wild would sweep the Flyers.
Yes, dude, half the East sucks. And I'm just like, okay, we're gonna find out how good Carolina really is. I think in the Cup, right? Mm-hmm. Now look, I don't know. Maybe Buffalo gives them, and maybe we shouldn't count out Montreal, dude. Montreal's been unreal. That Montreal game last night against Buffalo was that was some entertaining TV, and you forget just how hockey crazy Montreal really is. Because A, we don't deal with them so much, and B, because they haven't been as good. But people got to remember the number of championships that they have in that place. But, we'll worry about that in a couple of rounds. Look, man, my biggest thing is shut this thing down Wednesday. Don't travel anymore. Let's knock this off. Let's not risk any more injuries. Because, again, you and I are hoping that it's a stomach bug or something stupid for Malinsky and Lehkonen, but we don't know that. We don't have any information to suggest that, right? Every game you play, there's a risk of someone else getting injured. McKinnon's going to have to get some work done to that nose. We know that. They could not stop the bleeding, but since he's a hockey psycho, there was no way he wasn't going to play. So, and you get last change. You know what? You get last change coming back to home ice. You can keep McKinnon away from wherever you want to. And now somebody did, I put the comment up there. What do you think happens to Manson? Is there a possibility he's suspended? Do you think player safety gets into this?
They gave him a major and reduced it to a double minor. I don't see how you can suspend him if you reduced it from the suspendable prerequisite, which would have been a 5-minute major. We got to assume
Toronto was on those headsets with heavy involvement, right? There are no other hockey games tonight, so.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't suspend Victor. Now, I know Josh Manson isn't to the Avalanche what Victor Wembanyama is to the Spurs, and I also know they're 2 different leagues in sports, but, they're not gonna, unless it's egregious, and if it was egregious, they would have held with the 5-minute major and kicked him out of the game.
No, I'm with you.
I don't think he gets suspended, but hey,
we've
they're
seen
going
to
run at him again.
Out of player safety's front office before, so
The NHL also can be a little unpredictable with things like that, but I would be shocked. Andy, the Avs open is -205, home favorites to close it out on Wednesday night. I don't know, maybe Joel Eriksson-Ek plays. Maybe Jonas Brodin plays.
I don't think Brodin does. It doesn't sound like Brodin's even skating.
Yeah.
Eriksson-Ek's the one I wonder if they just force in there because it could be the last game of the season.
And maybe that's still the magic adjustment for the Wild, and maybe that helps them steal Game 5. I don't see Minnesota going back to Gustafsson. I think you've already played that card, and this is Volsted's series. I mean, he's their future. He's going to make good money for the Wild. They just start it now. I don't see them going back to Gustafsson. If though, let's say Eriksson-Ek's back or whatever, let's say the Avs sleepwalk for whatever reason, can't imagine they would. I mean, like you said, why would you want to get on a plane back to Minnesota? just you got it right there to just end the damn thing. But if Minnesota were to get this series back to even, you have at the very least tonight, you've ensured Game 7 on your home ice. Like,
you get 3 cracks at ending this thing. I'm not worried.
Yeah, you got three cracks, including 2 at home. So hey, I think they ended on Wednesday night. And that's if they do. It's damn impressive that that they will have beaten this Wild team in 5 games. The mighty 2-3 matchup that we were afraid of. We were knowing how. I mean, I think those are the second and third best teams in the league. And if they get out of this in 5, that is a statement for the rest of the league.
It is, because that's a 100-point team you just took down. You take down a 100-point team in a gentleman's sweep, because remember, Avs, Stars, Wild all were 100-point teams, and you take down one of them in a gentleman's sweep, the 5-game sweep. You're right. League's on notice.
Yeah, and Anaheim and Vegas are tied at 2, and maybe that gives the Avs that few extra days for Malinsky and Lehkonen to Aaron Rodgers cleanse their bodies, and for Josh Manson's upper body to get healed even more so, for Nathan McKinnon to get his rhinoplasty. So, hey, it's kind of following the same formula of the first round, where you sweep the Kings, you watch the Stars and the Wild go 6, you get those extra days off. You could do the same thing here against a better opponent and watch the Knights and the Ducks play a couple extra games. And these are all, they put themselves in this position by getting the President's Trophy.
Yeah, man, this is what you wanted. And it's been, look, they're very business-like. I think they've got a good mix of speed. They got a good mix of ugly and pretty. The second line, I don't know that I changed the lines up too much. And Minnesota doesn't get the hometown energy boost, which they've clearly been living off of. And frankly, in the third period, didn't do them any good. The fact that the Avs basically choked them out like a wrestling move in their own building in a must-have game in that third period when it was tied says all you need to know about how good the Avs team can be when they're playing the right way. And again, no Leckie and no Manson tonight. That's got to be scary for Minnesota, period.
All right,
to me, I'm telling you, dude, Leckie may be their best. Leckie should go down as one of the Avs' all-time playoff performers. He's not regular season guy, but when it gets to the playoffs, that dude is everything you want in a player come playoff time.
No, that's why it's like they don't have Eriksson Ek. Avs didn't have Lehkonen tonight,
or Malinsky, like you said.
Yeah.
And now, maybe they weren't getting so loose with trying to get the puck out of the zone, because Malinsky's a foot on the gas guy. And they had to adjust a little bit of the way they played. But, dude, good on them. Good on them.
I guess on that note, just a couple final thoughts. I thought if it came to this, because, hey, you need your depth. Like the depth the Avs have is unbelievable, where Lehkonen can be out. But because it's not one of your true top horses, Kiviranta can slide in and you're fine. Malinsky can be out, but tip of my cap to Jack Ashon's 7 minutes. Jack Ashon was better in his 7 minutes defensively than Nick Blankenberg was. And that's something that you need to look at if Manson has to go out in the Western Conference Finals, or whoever, right? That 7th defenseman coming in right now. Jack Ashon did himself a ton of favors tonight. To me, he's now your 7D because he's just more responsible defensively. Yeah, Blankenberg brings some of that offensive pop, but you saw how important it is to just be responsible and not make mistakes and to not get bodied around. I think that was really, Blankenberg was just getting bodied around too much. Ashon's not big, but he holds his ground a lot better than Blankenberg does. And then Ross Colton. Ross Colton has been snake bitten a lot over the past couple years. He gets himself into good scoring areas, but he hits posts and he gets shots blocked. He was off to a torrid start last year until he broke his ankle. It's just been a wonky couple years for Ross, who was on those Tampa Bay at least one of those Tampa Bay Lightning Cup teams. Love the acquisition, but it's just been a past year and a half has been weird for him. He's a healthy scratch to start the playoffs. But the trust that Jared Bednar has in him to put you. When Ross came in game 3 against the Kings, he was on the second line. And here he is tonight. He went from healthy scratch to second line. He's on the second line again here tonight. Bednar knows that Ross has been a little snake bitten over the past couple years. So, hey, awesome pass by Nick Waugh. Nick Waugh is so patient. I love his vision. He doesn't panic. But the finish by Colton was awesome, and I love to see that for that player.
I agree. I wish he on the breakaway. I wish Colton could have snuck 5-hole as he tried.
The little backhand kind of go 5-hole on him.
Yeah, well, it was tough. He had a guy in trail that was right behind him. He knew he felt the other pressure coming in from the side, and plus, he went in so fast he took a little of his own angle away too. But
sure.
Look, he got on the board. It was a big deal. They're playing scrappy. Man, let's go finish this thing on Wednesday. No more trips to Minnesota. No more frequent flyer miles.
We are sick of Minnesota. I've had my Minnesota fill over the last few weeks. All right, he's Andy Lindahl. Kreckman and Lindahl tomorrow from 3 to 6. You listen to Andy, you listen to Nate Kreckman. I'll produce that show. Andy, thank you for filling in for Alex Ryan-Emmy tonight. We will have Brett Kane 6 in the morning, and then all day through 7 p.m., me and Berto on the Blitz with Nate and Andy right before us. All day on Altitude Sports Radio, we'll be breaking down the Avs going up 3-1 over the Wild here in the Western Conference semifinals. Andy, you're the man. Thanks for jumping on. Thank you for listening, everybody. We will talk to you, myself and hopefully Alex Ryan-Emmy in a healthy voice. We'll talk to you on Wednesday night. Good night, everybody.